All Stars, what's going on? It's great to be back with you today. I'm Bimma, host of Claiming Stories podcast. And today we're actually going to be here with Joe Freshgoods from Chicago. We're going to talk a little bit with Joe about his creative process and also how his collection is coming to life. So Joe, let's introduce yourself.
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. Joe Fresh Goods, entrepreneur, brand owner, store owner, artist, creative, all that good jazz.
Amazing, Joe. We appreciate you being here with us today. I just want to dive in a little bit about your process and just get to know a little bit more about what goes into some of these ideas that you come up with. We know you're from Chicago. You're a big champion of the Midwest. I would say, what inspired you to start creating earlier on in your career?
You know what? I think well, overall, I've been creating, creating my whole life. I think for me, being able to speak, I think one of my most changing moments. I went to Paris. I went to Colette,
Mm,
and I saw a collab forgot the name brand, but it was like New York, LA, Miami. It was all the others. It was a city collab with all the cities in the states, and I
yeah.
didn't see Chicago. And
Huh.
that moment, it was about 10 years ago. That moment changed my life. It was like, you know what? I have to speak up for my city.
Yeah.
I have to speak up for my culture and how, like, what I represent as a black man in this space and in America. So, I think I create right now just based off how I grew up, and a lot of people kind of connect to those stories that I like to tell. I'm really
Yeah.
just a poet that make merch. That's really my whole tagline nowadays. I'm
Yeah.
not really a designer. I'm a poet,
I
that
love
makes
that.
merch.
I love that because it really talks to your passion for stories and really going into detail and going into nuances. Because a lot of your projects, you don't. There's not surface level. Like you got to kind of know. You got to kind of be
Yeah,
below the surface to understand
for
what you're
sure. I'm
talking
okay if people don't know. I'm totally okay if people don't get certain things I put on tees and shoes or whatever. It's not for everybody, and that's like super okay.
Yeah. Now, as you were starting to shape sort of some of your ideas and bringing some of those things to life, were there any artists that, that were mentors along the way or that would kind of help push you along or inspire you?
I wouldn't say it was an artist. It was more so like so in Chicago, I used to work for one of the top streetwear stores. One
Mm,
of the first early, forefathers to the streetwear game, Leaders 1354.
yeah.
Black owned. I remember coming in there when I was a shorty and like, wow, it was people that looked like me selling stuff that I never seen before.
Yeah.
And it was like when you go to the barber shop, you have those talks. It gets heated. It gets educational.
Yeah.
Um, so I started off just soaking up game for the from the guys that used to work there, and I started working there, and it was like that was my version of college. I fresh out
Mm,
of high school was being able to work at Leaders, go to the trade shows, and just understand how the culture works within the fashion community.
yeah. And so, I wanted to, one of the things that you touched on just a little bit ago, where you were talking about like that trip to Paris and how you just felt like a lot of brands and people in the space were forgetting about Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, when you, that particular feeling, like, how did that like start to push you to really champion the Midwest?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's this misconception that you have to move to one of the coasts to be successful.
Hmm,
It's that people romanticize moving to New York or LA to feet follow their dreams. And
right.
I think what's cool about my story is, if you know about me, you know about me. If you don't, it's cool. But a lot of people have watched me grow. I was, brought into streetwear at like 17,
Yeah.
16, 17 years old, just in the Chicago scene. And I kind of moved up the ranks. And even from a Chicago point of view, people have watched me. I always tell the story of watch me become from an intern to owner. I went from sweeping the floors to now I have people to sweep my floors, whatever. So it's that story, people that can relate to. So, when it comes to the Midwest and Chicago in general, I just think it's cool to see, especially with these kids, that I come from the hood. I come from the west side of
Yeah.
Chicago. So a lot of these things I'm doing now, I didn't even realize was a thing until I got into this space. So
Mm,
my whole goal now is for kids to know that you don't gotta leave. You can do what you do. Like look at me. Like I still live kind of where I grew up at. I
yeah.
travel around the world. I have people come to Chicago for my stuff. So um, it's really just for motivational purposes. It's really just
Yeah.
to show my city like, yo, I'm here. I love you guys. I'm gonna put on. I'm gonna give back, and I'm still gonna be my unauthentic self. So it's just, it works.
Works. Yeah. I think one of the things that was interesting you just touched on was that like you you understand that you could still travel the world and bring the world back home instead of leaving, right? And kind of forgetting home behind. And I'm sure a lot of young creatives in the city definitely appreciate that because you probably bring a lot of community and influence back to the city, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. When where did the idea come from for you to start putting your own take on different brands and different things that you were seeing?
Well, we all grew up in bootleg culture. The bootleg man was always a thing, like bootleg movies, and um that was always a big thing. So I think nowadays, like what I try to do is like, well, not nowadays because I got the opportunity to work with the brands, but
Yeah,
I think coming
yeah,
up, um, it was just I wanted to put my own spin on I wanted to put my own spin on things that exist. And sometimes it was a situation where it's like if I felt like brands were taken away from our community,
mm,
um, it was like let me kind of use tees and use hats and stuff like that to kind of like throw jabs and
yeah,
shots,
yeah.
stuff like
Respond
that.
back.
Like
Yeah,
if you're gonna
like
take from the black community, I'm not a no I'm still coming up, but I'm gonna just do my spin off on you. And so it was like first it was a situation where I just was doing it just to be funny. And in the streetwear community, getting cease and desist is like a badge of honor.
oh yeah,
Especially back then.
yeah.
Nowadays
You got to share
yeah.
that.
So like I was just, getting cease and desist and just hanging them on a wall like plaques. Like, okay, champion, um,
Like,
so that's how it started. Now I have the opportunity to work with brands, and I chilled on that, which now is like big bootleg. Bootleg is a big thing, but I kind of grew up supporting the bootleg man,
yeah,
and now it's a situation where I became the bootleg man. Now I'm the brand that can work with the brands and still kind of bootleg them in the front of their face. And they're like, we all eating it. It feels good. So, yeah.
it reminds me. It's funny because right, you kind of describe like your approach to storytelling and things like that as a rapper, and it reminds me of like that mixtape era where it was nothing for a rapper to jump on another beat and really put
Exactly.
their take on it, right?
Exactly. Everything is a remix. I just be remix. I used to remix stuff back in the day, and now it's like, so. Yeah.
What was the when you started maybe release some of these projects? Was the interest immediate? Like, were you seeing like people like coming around the store and like asking you for like, yo, where can I get this T-shirt or this hat? Like, how was that response?
Well, it's always been underground, even to this day now. I love when people like for me to collab with so many big brands and get this level of success I'm at. I love that a lot of people that still don't know that I exist. So that's like I love it, because my goal is never for the fame. I really just wanted to kind of put out my art for my lens and just be able to provide for my family,
Yeah.
and give jobs to my community. It wasn't really to be like popular or popping. I don't really even like that. But back in the day, word of mouth travels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like obviously, I use the internet to kind of, when I first started my brand, I used to kind of document the week by week process. Like, okay, this week I'm going to print 8 T-shirts. Next week I'm going to sell those 8 T-shirts. This is the profit I made. Now I'm going to buy 16 T-shirts. Then I'm going to wrap it like this, and then I'm going to, I was filming all this stuff on my MacBook, and then put it on Facebook and put it on YouTube. So people love the experience. This is early in the like blog era. I was like just blogging my process of how I had a brand. So, it's just one of those things where people, if you knew about it, you knew about it, and it was great. And it was kind of like I was kind of sweeping Chicago, and then I working at the store, I used to kind of sneak and sell I worked at Leaders. I sneak and sell my stuff like underneath the register, and I'll meet you. I can't. My boss gonna get mad at me, so I just sell it to you outside. It was
be like, yo, meet me out here.
Things, exactly. Like meet me in the alley because I don't want my boss to see me sell shirts and hip hop. So, but it was point in times where the store would be open for hours and the store wouldn't make money. I would make more money in the store selling my own product than the store made some days. So it was just like you know, I had to kind of like, you know, kind of fly my wings and kind of get up out of there, you know. So
Yeah, absolutely. It always a time and a time and a place, right? Timing is everything.
exactly.
Yeah. For me, it seems like you just have endless ideas. Like
Yeah.
your output is incredible. Even, we were talking a little bit earlier about, future plans and some of the ideas you have.
Mhm.
Like, how do you keep inspired creatively with just wanting to keep going and keep things fresh?
Well, I still, even with me, with my voice getting bigger, um, I still look around and there's so many people that's like, yo, can you speak up for us?
Hmm.
No matter, it's so many people that get opportunity to get collabs, have opportunities to do things like this, and they're still not speaking for a large demographic of people in the U.S. in the world. So, you know, that's why I just can't let people down. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very unapologetic in my approach. I tell brands how I feel. I
Yeah.
turn things down all the time, and it turns certain people off because it's just like, you know, why do you want to do this opportunity? But for me, it's like I have a lot of people that's looking up to me, for me to keep going stronger with my voice. So for me, it's one of those things where it's I just look at the space and I know it's a lot of really good people doing some good things and, you know, donating and making people vote and this and that. But, you know, where I come from is just I look around, there's nobody that's speaking how I'm speaking on these clothes and telling these stories. So it's like, oh, if y'all not gonna do it, this is I'm gonna do it, you know, because
Yeah.
I don't know how long I'll be able to be in this space. Hopefully for a long time, but it's just a necessary time right now, especially with what's going on around the world and around in the nation as far as like with social injustices. And it's like I'm gonna speak up for my people, you
For
know.
sure. Absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate that. And you giving us kind of insight to where that comes from. And it is so important to, be someone that's going to, be current in the conversation, be the one that's going to have these conversations that maybe, some of the bigger personalities aren't so attached to at this point in
Exactly. Exactly.
time. Jumping back to kind of the bootleg and your approach to things, you also caused a frenzy a while back when you did your own take on a Converse Chuck 70.
Mhm.
When was that? When was that project when you first kind of put that out into the world?
Yeah, so I first did it in 2017.
Okay.
I don't have those pairs on me, but I basically, you know, I wanted a sneaker. You know, I
Yeah.
wasn't no brand reaching out to me. I was just like, you know, what was the easiest thing? And I have a love for Converse. Converse is one of those brands that like everybody owns a pair of Converse. You know, no matter
Yes.
what brand that you have affiliation with, it's just like no matter if you were young, old, just like Converse is a staple just in culture, as always has been, it is. So um it was an easy canvas. The thing I like about Converse is because it gives you the mode to create.
Yeah.
And you know, just me coming up, you know, I was just like, I'm ready to expand a little bit. You know, no brands are reaching out to me. I have a really good relationship with every store in Chicago. So I was like, yo,
I'm doing it.
y'all got some Converse that I can like, can I please borrow some white 70s from you guys so I can like not borrow, but I was like buying 70s from different stores and just like I was going around the whole city I was actually hitting up stores all over America, like, yo, can I borrow? We only got 8 stock. I'll get those 8. So I was just trying to, I think I hit up like 20 different stores. I was able to get like, you know, 60 pair of Chucks just because like,
Yeah.
Joe, we need to sell them, but we got you. So, and I did that. So I went to my local print shop. We found out a way to print on top of them and embroidered them. And I sold them inside of yellow crates and I did like a couple pop-ups and I didn't
Wow.
have that many shoes, but it was a big buzz. So that happened. And it's like, it was hard for me to find 70s. I think I got in contact with somebody from Converse. I
Hmm.
think somebody at a store connected me to somebody at Converse, like, yo, Joe's a good guy. He's looking to buy 70s wholesale. And it was like, so that was the first connection. And
Yeah.
then from there, Complex Con in Chicago last year, it was another situation where like I wanted to fill out my booth with stuff. So I got the opportunity to get some Converse and from my homie, and you know, I was able to make a pair.
Oh
Um,
wow.
you know, this is a pair I made last year that was unofficial. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, it was like a moment for me. It was just like I only had 17 pair to
Yeah.
sell, but I made like a beautiful display, and I had every big name like just trying to get them. And it was like a moment. I was like, oh my god, I wish I had like 400 pairs to sell.
Yeah.
But it was a
Yeah.
moment. It led up to what we at now. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing. Is like obviously brands don't want you to bootleg their stuff, but at the end of the day, if you make a noise, you make noise, and you cannot deny noise.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that was, one of those things where it was like this is where, those Twitter things where it's like what happened and how would it get here moments where it's just like before and after. So I think we're looking at the after right now. So I think it's pretty exciting.
I think in real time, you're that meme of how it started, how it's
right.
going.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, exactly. That's what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's really incredible to see kind of like seeing that post tease in 2017 of kind of like what you were doing there and the Don't Be Mad, and to see how that journey has become. And now we're literally talking about a formalized project with Converse.
Yeah.
How's that feel? Like I remember seeing, just a couple weeks ago, this orange box posted, from you with your handwriting on it, and people just like, it kept showing up in my feed.
Yeah. I mean, moments, man. I'm all about moments. People don't be creating moments. Like from my shoestring to my pop-up shop to my shoebox, to how like every little moment I'm a fan of, to the staff t-shirts. Like I curate every little experience to make sure the consumer walks away with like a wow. Because it's a troubling time right now. I don't really feel comfortable sometimes getting people to shop. So it's like, if you're gonna shop with me, I want you to, those feelings when we're younger and like you love, like you just want to look at that shoe because it's so beautiful. Like you want to like sleep with it in the bed. It's like you don't even want to wear it. It's like, like I want to create moments where it's like, it's more so like art. Like all this stuff is really just Black art, honestly. It's like, I want to get to the point where it's like, you look back at my career in 20 years, like, yo, he was really creating art. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, with the adaptation of StockX and reselling, that's like a huge thing. But like, I'm really just, unconsciously making like Black art. You know what I'm saying? From my lens of how I'm doing things, and it's just it's one of those things that I just love to see like grow organically. All this is organically. I'm not like a big name like a lot of the other people, but it's like if you know, and it's just exciting to kind of speak through these canvases.
Yeah.
No pun, just to put my work out. So it's been exciting. Converse has been very dope to work with. I know sometimes I'm probably a challenge to work with because I do push the envelope when it comes to legal things. Because like, what brand wants you to put, not a bootleg this time? It's like what brand is like, yo, so like I really love brands that like, you know what? Let's just push this. You know what I mean? Because overall, this is what kids need to see. In my opinion, this is one of the, we're doing the top 10 shoe boxes of all time. It's like top 5 already, you know what I mean?
Okay,
so it's like,
okay.
It's a moment. It's all about creating these moments.
Yeah, I love your approach. I love the authenticity, and especially just the process about just like, this is the way we got to do it. Like, I'm really passionate about these details. And also, you're always thinking about, I feel like you're thinking so much about the upcoming generation. You're thinking about like, how can we help push them? And to segue a little bit before we jump into some of the questions from the All-Star community, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the importance to you of mentorship and really like sharing with that next generation. Like, I know you do, you've done workshops with Social Work Shy. You and you also have had workshops out of your own space.
Yep.
I think like taxes and like streetwear 101. Why is that so important to you?
Well, because again, it goes back to my point. I make clothes because it's my art. This is just how I know how to speak. But I'm still one of those people where I'm not like heavy on the consumerism side, where it's like, I tell my team all the time, I'm comfortable. It's my business now, but I'm so grassrooted. I don't have a huge team. I be feeling uncomfortable telling people to shop all the time because it's like everybody don't get it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like if I'm gonna pump product out to people, let me pump out knowledge as well. And I'm not a know-it-all, but from my lens, it's just like one of those things where this is how I came to this place I'm at right now. And I, as much as help I had, I didn't have that many people to talk about things to. And even now, like the deals that I'm signing, the brands that I'm talking to, I'm from the hood. Like, to be talking to these brands, like, it's not like a manual I can read.
Right.
Like we're all of us from the brand side and the creative side, we're learning in real time. Our brand partnerships, social media, like all that stuff. So it's like, I like to give knowledge out as much as I can because that stuff come back from tenfold. So when it comes to mentorship, I just love it because, you know, a lot of things that's happening in these communities is like, you know, not saying that fashion and culture and everything can fix it, but it's like, you know, if you could touch one kid,
Mhm.
that one kid, it's a trickle down effect where it can be super impactful and it could just keep going down. So with my store, you know, again, everybody always bite my waves. But when we started Fat Tiger like 7 years ago, the goal was for us to sell product, but also the reason why it's called Fat Tiger Workshop is for us to be able to do workshops. Obviously, life got really busy, so you know, COVID hit or whatever, so things kind of chilled down. But we were just pumping out, you know, workshops for people, just because we didn't want to just always just sell people stuff too.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
want to sell you stuff, but we're gonna give you knowledge as well.
Want to educate you at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it, Joe. I definitely appreciate your approach and your thought around community and mentorship. As we segue here in a bit, we're going to take a few questions from the All Star community. And so our first question is coming from Christoph in Estonia. Christoph, let's have you turn on your camera and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I am Christoph. I am a fashion designer from Estonia, from a tiny village of 8 people. My most forward vision is to push the boundaries of upcycling and ethical fashion, from using unconventional deadstock materials to creating my own textures, beads, faux leather, and etc. And Joe, I have a question for you. Do you think you were put into the narrative as a designer with where you are based at, or do you feel you had the freedom to just put on a t-shirt one day and just start preaching the vision and the story that you wanted to portray?
Yeah, it's all about it. It's always been about the freedom. If I don't feel like I can, obviously you have to working with brands is all about partnership, right? That's the first thing is partnership, right? But at the same time, it's like if a brand is reaching out to you, then you kind of already have leverage. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah,
it's always about freedom. You know, I've always been a free spirited guy with how I dress, with just how I move. You know, I started off doing pop up shops, traveling around the world with a suitcase full of t-shirts. You know, I never really had like you know, even if you go on my website, it's like I have no structure. That's the first thing it says. It says I'm crazy. I have no
yeah.
structure. I randomly collab with friends. And as much as you see the big stuff, I still, you know, I still enjoy freedom because that lets me sleep well at night. You know what I mean? I think sometimes people get really big and you know you are locked into the system because you have to play by certain rules and you kind of lose that edge, you know what I mean? And I think I've always, you know, I want to keep my edge, you know what I'm saying? So for the
Mhm.
most part, it's always been good to kind of have that freedom to do what I want to do and be able to actually when we talk about the word partnership, be able to work with brands, but they understand where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's always been about freedom. That's I'm really big on having that self-expression, being able to create from a lens where I don't have brands restricting me.
Mhm. But in this moment, what do you think is your legacy?
My legacy. Wow, good
Yeah.
question. Being unapologetic, you know, breaking the rules. You know, I don't really, you know, live off cosigns, you know.
Yeah.
I created my own energy, you know. I haven't left New York, I haven't left Chicago to do this, you know. So I think for me, it's so many kids across the nation that's like looking at me for like, yo, just keep rooting. So I think my legacy is being able to keep up this pace as long as I've have and like not and still stay true to who Joe is. You know, I don't want nobody to be like, ah man, Joe's not the same as he used to be. You know, obviously, like I got chains and stuff now. I'm a little, you know, but for the most part, I'm still like, you know, I'm still me, no matter how things go for me. And I think people love that. We see a lot of people get bigger, and it's like, I love what they did in 2012. They don't do it no more like that. I think for
Yeah.
me, obviously, I'm growing. My product is getting better, but you know, for the most part, I still be at my store chilling. You know, I don't have to be there. I got employees now. Every time I just happen to be sitting down in my shop, people, are, oh my God, you still be at your store? Yeah. Okay. You still told 30. I still ring people up. I still so I think that means a lot to me. That's where my brand lies at it, just being that real person. I think sometimes a lot of these brand owners feel they're like robots. I'm not a robot, so it's just one of those things where, you know, kind of keeps me going.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Christoph.
freaking amazing. I want to thank you, Joe, for answering the questions, and I want to thank everyone at Converse who made this happen. It's really cool,
Gotta check
and
out your stuff too.
that's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christoph. All right, next up we got Eddie from Chicago. Eddie, let's have you turn on your camera and introduce yourself.
What's going on? Eddie Oppong, based in Chicago. Creative director, sneaker enthusiastic, you know, lover of Converse 70s.
How you doing, baby?
What's up, bro? How you feeling, man?
I can't complain, man. Just trying to you know, get this rollout activated during this you know, pandemic.
I see you, man. I see you, man. You're in motion, bro. I love it, man. Proud of you, bro.
Trying, thank you.
So, got a couple of questions for you. First question is, what do you believe is the hardest thing about telling stories through projects, clothing, and art?
Are you really gonna hit me with a big one like that? What's the hardest thing you say?
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's when you know how when being a creator is like, sometimes I ask myself, is people really gonna get this? Because sometimes you wake up with an idea and it just like, how do I convince the world that this isn't crazy, you know? And I think sometimes it's like, you kind of just got to trust yourself. I still, no matter how good things are going for me, I still struggle with like confidence. I think it's okay to admit that. Like sometimes I'm not confident about stuff. I'm like, and I think it's a weird thing that I psych myself out on. I do not recommend it for people, but it's one of those things where it's like, even if it's something that everybody's going crazy about, I'd be like, man, I wonder if people gonna buy this. Like right before a drop, if I got a drop at 12 o'clock, I'm like, oh man, my career is over. Nobody's not gonna buy this hat. And I psych myself out like that. So when I like sell 1,000 of them in a second, I'd be like, oh my God, where did this come from? It's just a weird thing that I do. Part of it is confidence, you know, and a part of it is not, you know, sipping my own Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? I don't want to start feeling myself. I always want to keep challenging myself. Like, okay, you know, I always start out with a storyboard. This is my mood board. This is the feeling I want to portray to people. These are the colors I want to give off. And it's just like, sometimes it's like, I think just trusting myself that other people are going to kind of understand where I'm coming from. You know, I think that's the hardest part sometimes.
Bet. So my second question, you know, we both from Chicago, and it's a lot going on. So with everything going on in Chicago currently, how do you seem to draw out the beauty in the chaos to create projects?
Well, you're getting super cute with these questions. Man, well, because you know how it is in Chicago. Sometimes you tell people that you're from Chicago, they be like, "Ooh, have you ever got shot before?" You know what I mean? So it's just like, I think sometimes it's really dope to just create and just show when we have these all-star weekends and these complex cons and these different things that people get the opportunity to come to Chicago in. I think it's up to people like us creators to tell these really good stories about Chicago. I think the media sometimes focus on the negative part of the city when we know how it is. I've been around the world, baby, and ain't nothing like summertime Chicago. I put our downtown up against the best downtown. So I think it's all about showing people that side of us. When I talked about when I went to Paris and I saw that collab with all like the Miami, LA, New York, I'm like, y'all put Miami over Chicago? Oh no, you know? So I think it's just up for creators to somewhat, it's hard to kind of stay here all the time, but at the same time, it's just like, I think it's up for creators to be able to show the beautiful side of Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So that's always the challenge, to make sure I'm doing the things to bring people back here where I'm at and show people how beautiful Chicago is.
Dope. So I heard that you mentioned about, you know, both of your bootleg collabs earlier. And, you know, crazy thing is I'm a Converse 1970s collector.
Really?
I'm at like 60 pairs right now, ridiculous. But I have both of your bootlegs. So
let me see.
I have the first one. Okay.
Oh yeah. So that was a great moment. That was like, obviously I have my brand is Don't Be Mad. Yeah, it's a curse word right there. But yeah, man, that was a moment for me. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? I didn't know if it was going to work. You know, obviously I didn't know I was going to get in trouble with Converse. I didn't buy that many, but it was a moment for me how I did it. I ordered crates and I made custom crates and I sold them in crates. So it's like, you know, I didn't have the opportunity to make a shoebox, you know what I mean? But those were just moments for me to kind of gain traction that, now I'm here, because of those moments.
No doubt. And then, I definitely have to get the complex compare.
Yes, my babies. Yeah. That's one of my, that's kind of
probably my favorites.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, man. So, appreciate you answering the questions, man. Nothing but love,
Thank you. I like the beanie, man. You look good right now. The colors with the
kinda-
skin, baby boy.
I'm trying to make it happen, bro. You got it. You led the way.
All right, man. Thank you for the questions, though.
All right, bro. Good talking to you.
All right, have a beautiful
It's
day.
good to have you.
All right, peace.
Joe, how you feeling? You doing all right?
Feeling good. Got my tea, got my coffee. You know what I'm saying? We good over here. I'm over caffeine up.
All right. I got a couple more questions that came through the Q&A box. So we're gonna look at Rina Shakrish from Kuala Lumpur. Please forgive me if I fub the pronunciation of the name a little bit. But the question is, how was your creative process? How has your creative process been during this pandemic?
I think, man, it went through phases. First, when that pandemic first. So you got to think. I came from All Star Weekend. I just crushed All Star Weekend.
Yeah.
With another brand, I crushed it. And felt good. I'm like, I'm about to have a great year. You know what I'm saying? I think I got the shoe of the year so far. I got another Converse. I got a collab with Converse coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm about to make history as the Black man. I got all this. I got this that dropped or whatever. I'm feeling good. Another brand ended on me. I ended up, so I'm feeling good. Then March hit, I think for me, March 19th was like, wait a minute, what's coronavirus?
Yeah.
And, I think for me, okay, cool. It's good to reset. I think for me, I've been moving full speed for like 10 years. I might take a vacation every now and then, but like my whole life is deadline. My whole life is submitting artwork. So I was like, you know what? Look, I want everybody to be safe and I want people to stop going outside, but let me just chill. So I chilled for like 3 weeks and I felt good. Then I'm like, okay, I'm bored and I don't know what's going on right now because I'm like, I'm not motivated. And then it was like, so the first 2 months I was like in a slump.
Wow.
And it was like tough to like figure out what the world was heading out because at that point we didn't know it was gonna last all year.
Right. No clue. We
didn't know what was going on. But I think from that moment I was able to realize like, what, I have to get out of bed. I have to kind of figure it out. And I was able to start creating these moments with clothes, with tees, to like raise money for different, different businesses that need. I think I created Community Goods, which is my nonprofit. I just wanted to use clothing. If I can have people lined up and spend a lot of money on clothes, let me try to turn this into some type of crowdsourcing thing. And I'm able to raise money for people that need it. So I started that. I spent the next 3 months after that in the summertime just making different products to raise money for different things. I did something for the food depository. I did something for Chicago local businesses. I did something for CPS. So I just turned the bed moment into a moment to let me just start. Like, let me get out of bed. Let me just try to help people out. Yeah. And then now it's just a situation where it's like, we all might get into that funk sometime, but we're just trying to get out of it. I think I've been able to create. I've been in a blessed situation. So I think now, and I still have those moments where like, what is about to happen for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I've been using this year to give back to the community a lot more. I think that's the biggest thing is like, what, let me sit down for a second. Let me adjust my career, but overall, let me try to find ways to help out the community. So that was the biggest thing this year taught me. I went through my slump. It's like, all right, I'm one of the champions of this stuff. Let me kind of get out of bed and let me just try to use what I do to kind of like motivate people through my art, but also like raise money and help people out the best I can.
Yeah, it's incredible that you leverage your platform that way because as you say, you've mentioned like so many people have been impacted by COVID and so many businesses that we love in our communities are struggling right now. So it's incredible that you're doing that to uplift so many people along the way. The next question is coming from Words of Wonder from Canada. And the question is, what's your advice for an up-and-coming clothing artist who wants to grow their label? Respect to you.
Yeah, as cliche as it sounds, you just have to be different. If everybody in the industry is going right, you have to go left. You have to, I think, even off the internet, some, it's kind of tough right now because a lot of the things I did was like, it was during the internet era, but it was like, it was one of those things where a lot of the stuff I went through helped shape the brand. And I think now a lot of people that starting brands out and fashion labels and everything is just like, we so much access to so much on the internet that we unknowingly just gain inspo, which is what fashion and streetwear is about. But I think, and obviously it's tough because the world isn't open right now. But I always suggest just like getting out your comfort zone. Like I did this thing growing up where I just sleep on my homie's couch. We did this thing called Couch Gang where I had a homie in New York, had a homie in LA, had a homie in Miami, Amsterdam, and like we all just made sure that we can always sleep on each other's couch, so we was able to move around. So moments like that, I was able to connect. I saw what people in New York like. I saw people and the kids in London, So I was creating in real time. Unfortunately, it's just like I think internet has kind of like killed those moments in fashion where it's like, oh man, you have on this brand, like we're alike. It was like so now it's like you can buy that kit on the internet, and it's like you didn't have to study. You didn't have to study fabrics and the salvage denim and the hundreds and like BBC. That was all a moment where it's just like, wow, I see you on a bus stop rocking this BBC hoodie. We can be friends. You know what I mean? That was just like, you got that on StockX.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to be original and be different, I think, and create community. You know what I'm saying? Don't lean on influencers, lean on the communities. The communities across the world. That's the biggest thing. It's like, I don't really believe in like influencer and like artist seeding. It's like, I'd rather have, I'd rather have like, 100 people in the community rocking my stuff as opposed to like the two biggest rappers. You know what I mean? Like I take the 100 regular people all day over, because that's going to keep growing. You know what I'm saying? Right. Rappers have the ability to be like, oh, we're not wearing that no more. Let's play it out. I'd rather give my brand to the regular people across the world. So that's going to kind of build your base. You know what I'm saying? So that's about it, man. You just wanted to always kind of build that base with like common folk because they're going to hold you down. You know what I'm saying? So, just kind of be anti-internet a little bit, kind of get into your own face, own space, and, it'd be straight.
Man, Joe, that's excellent advice. Definitely appreciate you taking a deep dive on that one and really articulating your point of view on community. I'm going to take one more question from the Q&A. All-Stars, thank you so much for submitting. Just due to time, this is our last question from the chat box, and it's coming from London, from Yazin Bell 15. And the question is, do you have to sacrifice anything for your success?
Whew, that's a great question. Yeah, like that's the reason why I think quarantine and this year is very special because family time. I think I'm a dad. My daughter's 7 years old. Even just being in a relationship, family. Sometimes when you're working so hard in your dreams, you got to just sit down and realize the people that's around you that's allowing you to do that. You know what I mean? Because like, it might be a time. I remember I was at a trade show overseas and I missed my daughter's first footsteps. Wow. And that really hurt me. But at the same time, it was like daddy working, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I think, and we all deal with it, athletes, performers, people working. It's just like, so sometimes it's like, it's kind of tough being in this space because, you can't always be in, 2-3 places at once. So I think for me, it's always been about like, balancing family life and just shutting down, closing your phone, closing the apps, and just really focusing on family. But at the same time, it's like, this is what you do for a living. You know what I'm saying? Right. This is your job. This is what kind of helps put food on the table. So I would think the biggest sacrifice for me has always been like managing, making sure I'm the best friend and family member, as opposed to just making sure that my business is on. Because what's the point of being super successful and having all of that? But you look around, your friends and your family are like don't even know you no more because all you spent the last 15, 20 years just building up your brand, but like losing that level of who you are to your friends and your family. So I try to always have that perfect balance of making sure that, try to bring my friends and family along the ride for me so we can all, eat together and, make sure it's like a big thing.
Man, Joe, that's beautiful. You're absolutely right. What's life without friends and family? So Definitely appreciate you sharing more insight into your creative process. And we're super excited for the project that's coming with Converse. We just want to thank you so much for speaking with us today. And also thank you to all the All-Stars for your questions.